Hello, class. This is Michael Hippo for Edit 8150E. Um, I decided to go with the law of requisite variety theory for my research. Um, yeah, I enjoyed it. I hope that the presentation is enjoyable. I apologize for my voice. I'm getting over a sickness, so if you hear me kind of pause for a minute. What we're going to do is look at an overview of the theory. Um, this overview is of the original theory, but then also how we can relate it to instructional message design. Certain researchers and their research studies that contributed to this theory. Instructional message design guidelines based on the theory, so how we can relate the two with a little more specific examples. And then some instructional examples of the guidelines that we are presented here. We'll conclude and look at some of the references. So, law of requisite variety theory. This states that the amount of control must be at least as great as the variety within the system it is trying to regulate. So, if we have more variety and more disruption and discrepancies than we have responses, then we're going to have an issue. Um, this theory, we want to have as much control and at least be as great as the variety within the system it is trying to regulate. This principle applies to various systems from biology to education, computer science, business. Again, ensuring that this complexity is matched by an adequate range of possible responses. The more adaptable that the system or the host is, the better prepared they will be for change in that system and be able to respond to different disruptions that may occur. John Naughton, when going through a lot of the educational materials for this, he observed in one of his journals that his academic journals that he wanted to quote Henry Ford when he is showing evidence for this theory. He stated that mass production reduces the variety of its environment by limiting the range of choice available to consumers. Uh, at least he can. Product standardization was an essential staple for Henry Ford, and his slogan way back when he stated that customers could have the Model T in any color as long as it was black. But the rise of the internet has made variety reduction increasingly difficult. Um, yeah, and same with production. Mass production also, I mean, you see cars, you have all the base colors that you can purchase. You can also go online or into the dealership and choose one of their, limited edition specialty colors and just constantly creating more responses to consumer needs. And again, this can be applied to education, to biology, to business, to a lot of different scenarios. Production. The main contributor to this theory is W. Ross Ashby, who was a cyberneticist who created this theory because of his fascination with consistency within complex systems. He recognized that systems cannot deal with the diversity of the potential problems that can be produced will eventually be dismantled because it cannot handle the variability. Ashby has described the theory as an active regulation, and one of the most popular quotes from his publication is variety can destroy variety." And then we have Michael Lysick, who references Ashby's theory and relates it to design principles that encourage scientific change and the motive to embrace the nature of complexities themselves. So, to not be uh, pushing away from complexities because that complexities are complex. They bring uh, problems where solutions were in place. Can make things more complicated, but um, to embrace them and confront them and goes back to Ashby by trying to at the least, match as many responses with potential discrepancies that arise, the better the system will be. So Ashby's research for the requisite variety theory and its implications for the control of complex systems. He uses a matrix for relation between disturbances and responses. So systems with as many responses as variability will be optimized for sustainability. Right. The law of requisite variety says that R's, which stands for responses, that capacity as a regulator cannot exceed its capacity as a channel for variety. So, responses can only be a channel of variety so much. Um, you want to have as many responses as disturbances that arise, but you cannot exceed it according to Ashby. We have to assume that there is a limit because of the nature of cause and effect. Cannot react to something um, without having something to react to. The number of responses must be defined by the discrepancies, so there has to be a maximum. Um, can't have more responses than discrepancies or disturbances. How we can relate law of requisite variety theory to instructional method design. This can be applied by intentionally designing to face the challenges of having a diverse group of learners with unique presumptions about the learning objectives. So, especially with online learning, e-learning, instructional message design, you're going to face a lot of different backgrounds, a diverse group of learners, maybe different presumptions about what they're coming into for the standards and the learning objectives. And these assumptions about the field will happen depending on where you're at. Variety in assessment will challenge students in more than one or two fashions. So having that variety in assessment will make sure that students are understanding the information for your assessment, and then also for them to challenge themselves. Complexity in design to match various learning styles. This is something that's not uncommon. We've been learning this with the IDD section here in UGA, but you want to have that complexity in design. Doesn't mean the colors or certain design principles need to be ultra complex at all times, but we want to think about these learners as we're designing. Specific feedback with guides on relearning certain sections. So if students did get feedback that wasn't so great because they didn't score well, maybe some suggestions on ways to relearn these sections, and then accessibility is also can also be prepared for with intentional design for online learning instruction. Um, the law of requisite variety theory is great here because we have a lot of evidence and we have a lot of research for online learning comparatively to what it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So to use that knowledge to design in the future is going to be great. Some instructional examples. We have gamification. So Kerbal Space Program is an engineering game where students can use their engineering skills to see if they can get that rocket out into orbit. PC building simulators. So simulators are going to be a massive one, VR or just regular in general. Um, and then just like a simulator, but this has more layers to it. The Assassin's Creed games, allowing users to try and experience different historical periods throughout time. VR and AR are great assets um, for different ways of learning as well. We have certain job simulators. We have museum experiences that people can have at home. And then I thought another great one was social. So we have LinkedIn Learning that links these instructors and courses to your LinkedIn account. And then we all know the social implications of LinkedIn. A lot of contacts to keep hold of, and then job searching, recruiters are on there, and then Duolingo as well. This could be for gamification as well. They have a lot of gamification elements to it. You can add friends now, and you can create streaks with them to encourage these students to hold each other accountable. So, if you and your streak both didn't do your challenges for the day for learning this new language, your streak ends, so the other person can hold you accountable. They've been pretty proactive on the gamification and social scene for learning. A lot of things that I use in the classroom as well go into gamification. So if you're talking about Kahoot or quizzes, we have it to where they score points against each other. So for top five, we'll get candy or whatever prize. But then also they have actual gamification experiences. Quizzes has the mountain game where after a certain amount of questions, students can go in and they do these little mini games to try and get extra points and move on throughout the course. So, Mountain Peaks, I think. Instructional message design needs to have variety and clarity for the learner experience. So, these designers should account for potential learner discrepancies and disruptions and have best prepared responses for their target audience. And already have studied some issues with early learning environments, as well as they continue as a developer to have responses for disruptions that may occur. Again, here are the references um, with specifics to their where they were sourced. All right. Well, thank you for watching this presentation, and I hope it was entertaining and informative.